Right now we're going to go to our next caller, and that happens to be Mr. Jim Morgan on line 3. Hello, sir.
Good afternoon, Pete. How are you doing?
Wonderful. Good to hear from you again.
Yeah, today. Well, I called today because I just got the news, I think it was over your network anyway, about the contract that was let today in Labrador regarding the paving of the Trans-Labrador Highway, which was left by a company, Humber Valley Paving. And I find this rather scandalous, in my own humble opinion. A contract has been let now to complete the work that company from Corner Brook didn't do. Mm-hmm. And in my own opinion as well is, but once the Minister of Transportation cancelled the contract on them, well, they had no obligation, but that's a matter for the lawyers to decide, because right now there's at least four claims being filed in the courts against Humber Valley Paving for monies owed to these suppliers and people involved in paving, etc., supplying various things to Humber Valley Paving. They got thousands of dollars owing to them, and they don't know how they're going to get paid. Now, this case, they filed in the courts and let the courts decide, but they filed now to get the money that's owed to them by Humber Valley Paving. But having said that, if Mr. McGrath, the Minister of Transportation, after announcing today that a new contract is now awarded to a Quebec company, which will give them the okay to go ahead and pave the portion of that road work in Labrador that was not being done, left undone by Humber Valley Paving. Mm-hmm. And my main question today is, where is the report from the Auditor General? Mr. Padden. Mr. Padden is a well-known man. He's a good man to be in there, former Deputy Minister of Finance. And he was requested at the time, by Mr. Marshall, who's now, I understand, gone away to retirement or close to it. And surely is not being dragged on by anybody within government, because the way it works, Pete, when a report is requested by the government, it goes back to the government, the results of that report, and the government decides whether or not to release the report public. And I'm saying, surely is not a situation where this is going to be dragged out just a few more weeks until the new premier is established by the PC party, because it would be quite unusual for that premier to deal with a report from the Auditor General, which is a matter of question regarding his involvement in it. As a man who owned a company, was involved in the whole issue. I agree. That would be a very awkward situation, to say the least. Now, do you think that Mr. Padden has had ample time to do the review properly and fully, by now? Yeah, I spent about 5 years, or almost 5 years, as Minister of Transportation in the Moores administration. Mm-hmm. And when you ask the Auditor General to invest one contract, I repeat, it's not a number of old contracts, a number, maybe 20 or more contracts, it's one contract. To ask to investigate and give a report with regards to what the government, main question would be, was the government in justification in cancelling a contract? Once you cancel a contract, well, the people involved, the recipient of the contract, they take away all their obligation. They got no obligation, no responsibility to do anything further. And as we know now by his own admission, Mr. Coleman was still responsible for those bonds. He was personally signed on to guarantee them, so that he did have some stake and some benefit to receive from their cancellation. Is there any way, will we ever know if there was an increase in the cost to the province for the particular paving that they were supposed to do? Because this work, of course, has been bundled in with other jobs, and it's almost impossible now to know if and how much extra we would be paying, isn't it? It's a good question, and that's the reason why I'm calling today, because not too long ago, maybe an hour or so ago, and I've got the details of what this contract is about. A new contract was issued to a company in Quebec by the Minister of Transportation, announced by him today. He's still there as Minister of Transportation, despite the activity he was involved in. But having said that, the new contract, and I did some figuring on it, about what extra cost would it be, and it comes out to, in my estimation and in my calculation, now I'm only one person, others can comment as well, but it's going to cost the taxpayers $7 million more than what it would have been if they let Humber Valley Paving carry on and complete the work they left undone. and the new company going to take over what's left undone and do it. A company from Quebec, I forget their name, just announced. But in looking at the figures per cost per kilo, for kilometer, I should say, that the new cost is substantially higher than what Mr. Coleman was involved with when he got the contract. And the estimate I got right now is $7 million more. So it's costing the taxpayers $7 million more of this province by means of cancelling a contract to Humber Valley Paving. Now, I'm not going to be critical of the individual, but the fact is nobody has the kind of right that was given him for a senior official of transportation to go and sit down and talk to the officials of the company and to just gently say to them, don't you worry about it because we're going to cancel your contract. You got no obligations. You got nothing calling your bonds or anything else because we're canceling the contract, so you're out. And I'm saying this whole mess has got to be cleared up by only one person I know quite capable of doing it, Mr. Patton, the Auditor General. And when he makes his report, it should be done as quickly as possible. Because to be fair to Mr. Coleman, it'd be an awful situation to put him in that kind of predicament. You got to make a decision on a report which could be very well damaging him and his company.
Well, it's possible that this new contract will give him extra information or fodder for making his report, and maybe until that was done, he really has no way of determining the impact financially for the province. If you say it's broken out in cost by kilometer, you can quickly add up what the difference is between, what it was with Humber Valley Paving then and what it is with the new contract or new company now. Perhaps he was potentially at least waiting on this to complete his report.
It could be. I hope you're right, because, the report should be made as quickly as possible before the new man takes over as Premier, to be fair to him, in fact, in this case.
It's just too bizarre a situation. I just can't imagine that that's going to occur. If it does, boy, oh boy, that's going to make some headlines.
It will, and it's not good, period. In my humble opinion, it's a scandalous situation. It should be straightened up as quickly as possible, and if we got to pay $7 million more, as taxpayers, what happens to those people who got claims against the company Humber Valley Paving? Now, I know what I'm saying is fact. There's a number of claims now filed in the courts to get paid for things they supplied services to Humber Valley Paving at the time of doing this very work in Labrador, and they haven't got their money, and they got no choice but go to the courts to try to get their money back. Of
course, another question people are going to be asking, no doubt, is if this new company, should they run into difficulty, forest fires or whatever else it could be, can we perceive the government actually looking at their situation and saying the same as they did for Humber Valley Paving, that don't you worry, we'll cancel your bonds? I got a feeling that that's just not on.
That's not going to happen. And there's only a coincidence.
And if it's not on for them, why would it be for anyone else?
Why would it be for them? Well, Mr. McGraw, I don't know the man. I know him, but I have no dealings with him, but etc. But he, I think he made an awful mistake by going as a senior official in the Department of Transportation, going down by himself, I understand, and meeting with the company involved and saying to them, if you want us to, we'll cancel the contract for you and remove your obligations.
Suffice it to say, you would not have done that in your day.
No, Frank Moores would have fired me from the cabinet.
All right, sir. Listen, thanks very much.
Take care.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.